Okay, today I'm going to make baguettes, and it's an American recipe, so I had to work through it and make some adaptations, but it should come out all right because I have a batch, don't know if you can see it, they're cooling off, that I've made successfully, so this should go well. I first put in 16 ounces of tap water, cool tap water. He says 14, but I have learned that his altitude and atmosphere must be different from ours because it wants more water here. Then I put in a bowl separately. Now he puts the yeast in the water. Our yeast does not go in the water. It goes in with the dry things. So I have 1.5 teaspoons of salt that I put in. One. What was that? So that should be about enough. We don't want it too salty, do we? And then a 1/4 teaspoon of the yeast. And I'm putting a link to the recipe that he did to give him credit, it's only fair. But you'll see the differences in that, in mine and his, that I had to adapt. So that's a 1/4 teaspoon of the yeast and a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, which I'll add to the water. Okay, now we mix the dry things well. Want to get the yeast and the salt mixed in as thoroughly as possible. And then just to double check, I'm going to measure it out, because it's supposed to be 3.5 cups. And I was using the smaller cup, 1/2 cup, and lost count. But I think this is 3.5 cups. So there's 1. 2. Yeah, this is the right amount. I thought so. Okay. Let's pour all that in there. And then he suggested using this, the handle of a spoon, which he said so that you don't get a clump up there. And it actually works quite well. And then you just give it a little stir. Get all of the ingredients incorporated. Go around a bit. And this is why I got extra water, because the amount of water that he uses isn't quite enough for here. Once you get it stirred, like that. Then we take a spatula and just scrape the sides of the bowl to bring the flour from the sides down into where the dough is, because the dough is supposed to be sticky so that the flour will soak in. And he gives it a little tumble, he calls it, where he just kind of folds it over. And it looks slightly dry now, but when it's done proofing tomorrow, it will be quite sticky because it just absorbs that flour, and it will go from here all the way up to here. What I do next in order to proof it is he puts cling film, what he calls plastic wrap, but I was thinking that probably wasn't a good enough seal, so I put my silicone cover on it, and that worked beautifully. So the batch for that bread, when I checked it this morning, because you proof it overnight, when I checked it this morning, it was perfect. It was well proofed and everything was brilliant. And the smell is so delightful. The smell when it's baking is lovely, but the smell when you're working it tomorrow after it's proofed is gorgeous. So, next video tomorrow.